everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Red Embrace Hollywood, aka the game in which we pursue toxic relationships with vampires and pray to Cain to not die. And let's hope we won't die tonight. Let's go. The next night, there was no sign of a message from Cherise. Nothing from Heath either. I wondered if he was too mortified to speak to me, now that he'd probably sobered up. Well, just to give you a little reminder, Heath literally ran away from our hotel's bedroom last night after smooching us. So we do have to meet with him and set things straight. For once then, I had a completely free night. Still, despite my immortal lifespan, I felt like I probably shouldn't laze around in bed or watch the entire VHS collection of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air that, for some reason, was tucked into my TV cabinet. The favorite show of LaCroix. Instead, something much stronger was tempting me. A meeting with the Golgotha leader. Ooh, the SABBAT guy. I mean, at least I feel so far, after the meetings we had with Golgotha before, that they seem to be very much SABBAT-like when it comes to comparison with World of Darkness. I felt a strange, insistent pull towards him, towards the cemetery. It was like an unseen wheel tangling with my own. Oh, that actually reminds me of the power of presence in Vampire the Masquerade V5, called Summon. I think it's a level 4 power which Toreadors or Bruja can have. It's called Summon, and what it does is that you can use it to basically summon vampires or humans, I think, as well, to yourself after you just think about them. They probably have to taste your blood before, and they won't go out of their way to hurt themselves or to kill someone or to put themselves in danger when it comes to trying to get to you, but they will feel that pull, and they will try to do plenty to get to you. So that seems to be like a presence power. Interesting. My gut feeling told me I'd be safe. If he'd really wanted to kill or capture me, I'd already given him plenty of chances. But before I went to meet him, I needed to feed again. Venturing somewhere potentially dangerous without fresh blood seemed like a bad idea. Drink from a blood bag. Grabbing a bag from the fridge, I guzzled it down. I wonder how many blood bags we have, or maybe they are refilled every night. Not terrible. They were always labeled with their blood type, and I decided on what was relatively tastiest. Type O negative, of course. Peter Steele's blood must be very delicious. Because Holyfield Cemetery was a little too far to walk, I hailed a cab and settled down in my seat, gazing out at the distant moon. Living in a graveyard was an interesting choice, even for a vampire. The irony had to be deliberate. It shouldn't have been that strange since we were all dead, clinically speaking, but most vampires didn't seem to flaunt that fact. Again, something that seems to be pretty much SABBAT-like. I really need to make videos about factions one day and explain to people what exactly is the philosophy of the SABBAT, because I feel like, based on Bloodlines 1, if people play that game, it may be misinterpreted a lot, and maybe the nuances of it are widely unknown. The entrance to the cemetery almost looked like it belonged to a mansion. I reached out to testingly push the elegant, towering iron gates, wondering if they were locked. They loudly creaked open at the first hint of my touch, all too eager to beckon me inside. Beckon. Sorry. With some hesitation, I stepped onto the little path that wound through a maze of graves. It was dark, almost unnaturally dark, and a thin mist curled sluggishly among the headstones. I couldn't deny the cemetery's haunting beauty. The watchful statues, the towering trees, the rigid lamps that cast an eerie sheen on whatever they struck. Everything seemed preserved in time. For a distance, I saw the city lights glowing brightly, like electric fireflies drifting through darkness. My eyes fell from glittering skyscrapers down to the cold, grey tombstones surrounding me. It's kinda reminding me of the Hollywood in Bloodlines 1. There was a cemetery there, with Ramiro in there. The atmosphere of graveyards like this made me feel I would say intrigued. The dead kept many secrets, and it was like those secrets had sunken into the soil, filling the ground with a dark, macabre presence. It was one of those mysteries you could never really solve, a constant unknown, and for that very reason, I was fascinated. Following the path, I headed deeper into the graveyard, forcing myself to stay on high alert. Everyone seemed either terrified of this man or reluctant to even speak his name. Considering the power and confidence of most vampires I'd met so far, that was no small feat. But after wandering around for several minutes, I couldn't find anyone. Maybe I'd missed him, or else Zhang had pulled some kind of a prank on me. There wasn't exactly a doorbell I could ring either, so maybe it's the same cemetery as in Bloodlines, but instead of Romero, what we have in here is just zombies. Suddenly I sensed the presence of someone nearby. Like Marcus, it had abruptly appeared instead of slowly growing closer. I'm telling you, they are like Malkavians, they have obfuscate. My eyes darted around to try and spot the source, but I couldn't detect where they were. Until I glanced behind the mausoleum. There, a lone statuesque figure stood with his back to me, gazing up at the moon. The instant I saw him, a chill ran down my spine for reasons I couldn't explain. Something about his presence was incredibly calm and controlled, almost too calm, completely unlike any other human or vampire I'd met. Hello? My voice came out thin and uncertain, nearly carried away by the breeze. But it seemed to reach the man, who slowly turned to face me. Oh, hello there, handsome. His eyes dimly glowed like two beacons in the dark, casting a pale golden sheen onto his face. I'm getting Beckett vibes. The figure took a few steps towards me. Maybe the wind drowned them out, but I could have sworn his footsteps in the grass were silent. He stopped a small distance away, gazing me up and down with aloof curiosity. At last, with a soft inhale, he subtly nodded, maybe to himself more than to me. Welcome to my residence, Vince. I hope its unorthodox nature does not cause you undue distress. He spoke in a quiet, near monotone, his deep voice oddly soothing. I am Andrei Zabek. Of course he's Andrei, of course! Naturally! Andrei, are you the Golgotha leader? The corners of his mouth curled faintly upwards at my reply, yet it didn't seem quite like a smile. It appears my message was delivered. I am pleased you decided to acknowledge it. Only on rare occasions do I extend personal greetings to Los Angeles' latest introductions, but for you, I choose to make an exception. And why might that be? The glow of Andrei's eyes flickered for less than a second like a lamp brushed by a poltergeist. There are on occasion individuals of unique potential and circumstances who are noteworthy enough to attract my interest. Very few vampires have been turned in Los Angeles the past several years, and have managed to survive. Yet you appear to flourish. As nascent as you are in your development, I feel as if you hold great promise. Thank you. Damnation seems to suit me so far. So I see. You have taken to our gifts well, nurtured them, and you will find every door in the world lies open before you. He smiled softly at me, if not kindly. I am aware of your employ by Charisse Locke, the Iscari leader and regent of Los Angeles. Her methodology of ruling is disagreeable to me. That is why I seek to subvert it and why I rally others against her. But she is a formidable opponent. While the Mavar seek to fight in the streets, Locke and I battle in the shadows, a duel of assassins and spies. A faint, insidious smile spread across his lips, not quite reaching his eyes. I have to stop doing that when I do the narrator's voice. However, as of late, she has begun losing ground to me. I believe that is why, in her desperation, she seeks to mold you into a suitable weapon. I'm just doing what I have to. My situation isn't exactly flexible. There is nothing one is forced to do, save for abiding by natural laws of the universe. Beyond those laws, your will is entirely your own. You are merely deceiving yourself into seeing another's will as an impassable barrier, when in reality it is nothing but a circle of fret on the floor around you. I see now why Marcus is in Golgotha. Such a barrier exists solely because you believe it does. His quiet, calm voice drifting into silence, Andrei turned his gaze up towards the moon. The time for an end to this conflict swiftly approaches, Vince. Either a new ruler will establish domain over the Los Angeles Coven, or else we shall descend into anarchy, the beginning of an inevitable end for our kind. He sounded remarkably placid for such a dramatic statement. Even when I stared at his face, I couldn't see any visible traces of emotion. He has 5 dots in composure. My assistants serve as my eyes and ears, unseen and unheard, absorbing all that would be hidden as they move among the dead. But with the current tension between the houses, their range is limited. Andrei fell purposefully silent, allowing his thin smile to finish his implication. Are you asking me to be your spy? To a minor extent, yes. Unlike your arrangement with the Iscari in my employ, you will be treated fairly and with due respect. Join me and I can promise you an elevated seat in the new government I intend to establish. New government? What does that mean? Forgive me, but I can't disclose the entirety of my designs while you are still in Locke's service. I will, however, inform you that our ambitions are entirely different. She desires to maintain the status quo of secrecy and stasis, while I wish for our kind to reach a certain understanding with mortals. It is inevitable that, as technology advances, vampires will one day be exposed. I seek to prevent the unfortunate circumstances that would arise from such a scenario. Does that provide you with more insight? A little, yes. Excellent. I hope it assists you in making your decision. Fuck. Do I have to give you an answer now? I am afraid so. It is a sudden decision, so I understand your trepidation, but I would ask that you follow your instincts in that regard. Those whose hearts and minds are prone to wavering often make unreliable allies. Holy shit, okay. I think... I kind of want to do one playthrough in which I side with him, and another in which I don't. I just wonder with which should I start? Are we going full dark road? And like, I mean, maybe we should. Maybe that would be enticing. You know what, guys? Although I personally do agree with keeping status quo more, then I don't know. Okay, you know what? Let's do it. I am going to take full responsibility for this decision, but let's do it, okay? I'm interested in working together. Excellent. I am pleased to hear your decision. You may be relieved to hear that I require little from you at this stage. Infrequent reports should suffice. However, I ask that you continue to endure Locke's request for a short while longer. Your ambiguous affiliation will serve as a pass around Los Angeles with little risk of harm. For now, that is. When the time comes to break from her, it will be apparent. You're right. I'll deal with her until then. I truly sympathize with your plight, young Iscari. We have all been forced to endure unsavory situations for the sake of future progress, as the gears of advancement are only turned through suffering. He inclined his head serenely, though his eyes never shifted from my face. I believe that concludes our business for the night, and I must attend to several arrangements. However, please visit me again at your earliest convenience. There is a great deal more for us to discuss. Shit. I would rather discuss with him first and ask him fully about his philosophy and then decide who I want to side with. Because I feel like I just sided with the devil right now, but I don't know, maybe it's going to be interesting. After Andrei's polite dismissal, I left the mausoleum behind, heading back down the empty path. All the way back to the graveyard's entrance, I couldn't shake the strange feeling of presences surrounding me. They were too muddled to really identify. I did the bad thing, didn't I? I don't know. Luckily, I managed to catch a passing taxi not far from the cemetery. By the time we drove back into Hollywood, sunrise was still several hours away. Something about the graveyard had left me feeling restless, so I decided to pay a visit somewhere. I want to go everywhere. I had the taxi driving to Saturnalia and watched through my window as downtown LA glittered into view. Is my boy going to be there? Probably not. There was no sign of Heath tonight, only some Iscari quietly nursing their drinks. I thought I remembered their faces from the hotel, but I wasn't sure. Let's chat with them, why not? The bar's patrons were an interesting bunch this night. A former porn director, a depressed singer who'd failed to make it big, a supposedly dead politician, and an Elvis impersonator. All of them were Iscari, and while the director and politician worked for Charisse, the singer and not Elvis were unaffiliated loners. When I first struck up conversation with the unhappy singer, the others were off by themselves, looking more lonely than anything. But after they saw us chatting, they drifted over one by one, until all 5 of us were lounging by the bar and exchanging backstories. It was only a matter of time before the subject of politics reared its ugly head, though. The politician started dropping hints that the singer could find some renewed attention among the Iscari if she aligned herself with the faction. She seemed hesitant, but torn, and soon she turned to ask me for my thoughts. I told her... to meet with Charisse and make her own decision. I convinced her to think over things carefully, but acknowledged that the faction might be a good fit for her. I think it's fair. She seemed grateful for my neutral reply, and said she'd try to get a meeting with Charisse whenever she could. I think that's fair. I mean, we're not trying to fully get anti-Charisse so far. Maybe we can still decide later on after we know more about the Andrei boy, but we'll see. Our conversation continued for a little while after that, though eventually the group began to disperse. The newly arrived patrons didn't seem as interesting, so I decided to head somewhere else for the night. Let's leave. As I left Saturnalia and stood on the sidewalk waiting to call another taxi, I felt someone's gaze on me, watching me intently. At first I couldn't tell where it was coming from, since there were several people wandering up and down the street. But when I turned towards the entrance to the alley, I spotted a scrawny dark-haired figure peering at me from the shadows. Go over to them. Why not? Pulled by my curiosity, I decided to wander closer to the figure. A part of me expected them to run off as I got closer, but they didn't move. Hot alerts! That's a girl, right? I'm not really sure, it's a pretty androgynous character, but anyway, hot. When I finally stood in front of them, 2 bright red eyes stared at me curiously. Oh hey. I was wondering if you were ever gonna come over. I thought I might need to wave a flag or something to get your attention. She spoke in a quiet, slightly husky voice, a hint of fangs flashing between her words. She looks beautiful! When I focused on her presence, I could tell she was a Golgotha. Can I tell that really? Interesting. Next time you could just introduce yourself, you know. Oh no, I don't like walking up to people. I always get distracted. She reached up to scratch her cheek, squinting at me curiously. I'm Morgan. Can't remember your name, but your face matches everything I've heard. Trailing off for a moment, Morgan leaned forward a little, her red eyes slightly glassy behind her lenses. Yikes, you've got star reading all over your head. So bright, you might make another star burn out. I don't know what you mean, I'm not a star. Aren't you? I don't know, you could be. You could be from that glittery world that throws away every nobody. But I guess you'll find out. Morgan let out a faint sigh, pushing up her glasses. Do you see anything else when you look at me, Morgan? Is she like a fortune teller from Santa Monica Beach? Oh yes, lots of things though, it keeps changing. Let's see, right now, as she took off her glasses, a confused look drifted over her face. I see something fading and I hear these weird silent tracking beeps. Fading away, getting smaller and smaller, totally gone. Can't believe it took this long. Morgan's halting words slowly sank into silence. What's fading? Is it in me? No, it's not you. Not this you, anyway. She touched one finger to the spot just below her throat, although there was nothing there, only her shirt collar. After a long pause passed us by, Morgan slid back on her glasses. I like her with glasses. Okay, believe it or not, I wanted to do something besides giving you loopy fortunes. I was actually wondering if you could do me a favor, because you look like a pretty capable kind of a guy. See, I came here a few months ago and I've been trying to get a meeting with Andre. But holy hell, his schedule is booked. You smell like the graveyard though, so I figure you must be in touch with him. Could you ask Andre to bump me up to the top of his queue, so I could meet him sooner? She perked her brows upwards, eyes glinting at me hopefully. I don't know you, why should I do that for you? If you do, I could, don't really know how to say it, kind of, shimmy my way into a few people's dreams, help boost their opinion of you. Is Carrie, Golgotha, whatever. Sounds like a deal? Okay. I mean, inviting people's dreams, invading people's dreams seem to be a bit of a stretch, but yeah, let's say that. I'll do it, but don't invade anybody's dreams, okay? Oh, sure, if you don't want me to. I'm gonna get literally nothing out of it, but hey, your choice. Morgan blinked in confusion, but soon offered me a curt nod. Alright, that was all I wanted, so, you can go now, bye. Interesting person. And very hot, too. After her last words, I left Morgan to lurk in the shadows by herself, heading back to catch another cab. Heading back to the graveyard would be too long of a drive, but I could always ask Andre during my next visit. There's a lot of things we could do. Let's go to the beach house. Highway driver take me to Santa Monica, deciding to stop by Randall's place. Hello? Again a party. There was a small crowd here tonight, and many of the vampires were clustered by Randall, listening to him speak. Talk to Randall. I wandered close to the group, listening to Randall's voice as it rose over the surrounding chatter. And that's when I was like, no, fuck this, I'm not gonna take it anymore, the last fucking straw. Hold on guys, I think somebody's here for me. When he noticed my presence, Randall held up a finger to the group, then started edging his way towards me. A sea of murmurs, both disappointed and curious, sprang up as he left, and the Mavara's gazes flicked onto my face. I think Randall must really like me, because he always just like ditches the whole party just to talk to me. That's a sign, guys. It's a sign. Wink, wink. Most of them were cool, maybe even a little accusing, although nobody said anything. Hey Vince, how are you? Oh, he totally has a little soft spot for me, but he knows already that I am taken, and he must be heartbroken. I've seen better nights, but I'm still alive at least. Mortician would probably disagree, but semantics aside. Glad you're alright. Hope everything's okay over in Hollywood. So what's up? Do you want to talk about something? Something that happens. Oh no! God damn it! How'd I do? God damn. I'm sorry, I'm so stupid. I don't know if I can actually go back. Can I go back? No, because it didn't load. I didn't save the game before. I'm sorry. Watch your ass out there, got it? My bad, guys, my bad. We're going to go back to him again, and we're going to ask all these questions, okay? Throwing me a playful salute, Randall shifted back to the circle of Mavar he'd left, a rush of happy voices greeting his return. Let's go and chat with the Mavar then, at least. Let me see my stats very quickly. It seems like Mavar like me the least, so I have to talk with them a little bit more. I wandered over to the nearest group of Mavar, trying to pick up bits of their conversation. Can we just leave already, man? I'm so ready to get out and ride! Yeah, I'm kinda bummed that Randall's not coming with us though. Same here, but hey, he'll ride with us next time, I bet. From the way they were jostling keys and pulling on leather gloves, it seemed like they were hailing out to ride their motorcycles. Hey Vince! You wanna go with us? I think we'll go with a spare bike that you can ride. A familiar Mavar called out to me, grinning broadly. Sure, let's go! I don't know if I can drive, but yeah. Sweet, come on! Okay, that's cute. We spent the next hour or so racing along the beach, riding together under the moonlight. The Mavar hollered and cheered the whole way, and something about it reminded me of a pack running in the wild. All I could hear were their voices, the sound of roaring engines, and the ocean steadily crashing around us. For some reason, in those moments, I felt less human and more animalistic than ever before. Oopsie daisy, did we lose humanity? I hope not. Driving a motorcycle makes a humanity loss, apparently. And by the time we finally returned to the house, that untamed, uncaged instinct still stirred deep in my chest. Let's go. Slipping out of the beach house, I made my way back across the sand. Let's go to the Blood and Roses. Say hello to my dear Marcus. I asked the taxi driver to bring me to Blood and Roses, and we soon pulled up outside the shop. But the sign in the window read closed, and all the lights inside were off. It seemed like Marcus wasn't around tonight. Abattoir, then. Is there a party? The club seemed fairly quiet tonight. Unlike last time, I sensed more humans than vampires, but over by the hallway, I caught a glimpse of Lucia's eye catching hair. I could chat with her, but I didn't bring her a vampire yet, I think. Did I? Let's try it. I wandered over towards Lucia, who was idly chatting with a small group around her. She didn't seem to notice my presence at first, but once our gazes met, she beckoned me over with an energetic wave. Oh, hello, darling. Was wondering if you planned to stop by again? Oh, well, I couldn't keep you out of my thoughts, wink wink. Oh, is that right? People do tell me I'm good at invading places I shouldn't be. Anything you'd like to ask or talk about? It's a bit loud here, but I'm listening. Tell me about yourself. Me? I suppose you might call me a libertine if you wanted to be rude. Rudely accurate. She snickered, but her smile slowly faded into a more sober expression. Oh, well, let's see. I'm a transplant from Sheffield, over in England. Came to LA with a boyfriend who wanted to try and make it as an actor, but he dumped me about a month after we arrived. Wow, what a horrible guy. No argument there, but I really hold myself more to blame. I should have put my own interests first, thought more about my future. Putting all your eggs in somebody else's basket. Just stupid, really. Alsha heaved a wistful sigh. After a few days of crying my eyes out, I realized I should probably find myself a job, since I didn't want to get thrown back into the sea. Turns out the club and entertainment scene suited me just fine. I've been a bartender, dancer, one of the girls who pops out of cakes at bachelor parties. I've just about done it all. I always dreamed of some exciting career, figured I'd end up exploring ancient ruins or riding monster trucks, something that makes people's eyes go wide after they ask what you do. This club thing, it's very fun, you should see the things people do in the backrooms, and I've had great times partying here, usually under the influence of various things. But I do think there's something more for me out there. I'll have to find new thrills before long, and even though I'm not sure where they are yet, finding out is a part of the fun, don't you think? As she finished, a little spark returned to her eyes. I get you, girl. Have you ever wanted to become a vampire? Oh, I've thought about it. Quite a lot, actually. Got plenty of offers too, especially now that all vampires except the Iscari are ignoring choices don't bite someone unless mommy says so rule. But I think I'd really be miserable as a vampire. I have no idea what to do with all that time. And even worse, I wouldn't be able to eat lava cakes anymore. Much rather live fast, die young. I don't want to see myself becoming some cynical old spinster in the body of a 30-year-old. Despite her right tone, she seemed a little uncertain. What does it feel like to be drunk from? Darling, I can't even describe it. You must have felt it once when you were turned, although the memory is probably fuzzy now. It's just so amazing, almost too amazing. She let out a long sigh, but curiously enough, I saw a brief wistfulness flickering through her eyes. Actually, I passed out the first few times, but after I'd spent a few months as a blood pet, I started remembering the sensations little by little. It's cheaper, easier high than just about any drug, and probably safer too, as long as you're not getting sucked dry. But adds the thrill, I suppose. By the way, that Iscari they sent to me? Cutest arse I've seen in years, good job, there we go! She has a vampire, I didn't actually know that she got a vampire from my deal, but that's great. How did you first learn about vampires? Through Marcus, actually. I'm sure you know him, right? He was the very first vampire I have ever met, and phew, was he ever an interesting tour guide for the underworld. Little baby goth that I was, I'd never been so excited in my life. Vampires? Real? Not just a kinky fantasy? Of course, I learned later on that the vampire life isn't all roses and bloody tears and romance, and a lot of you have it pretty rough. But I'm glad I got to learn about them, even if I can't watch Nosferatu without imagining him wandering inside Marcus' sex shop. That's all for now, I think. Is it? Have a lovely night then, darling. Alright then. Winking at me, Lucia turned to saunter away, fluffing at her hair with one hand. Drink at bar. Let's do it. Plugging down one of the bartenders, I ordered a glass of the club's special, which most unsuspecting humans probably assumed was a Bloody Mary. As I took the first sip of my drink, turning away to survey the dance floor, a short, thin figure in androgynous clothing began to pass me by, holding a drink in either hand. They suddenly stopped mid-stride, staring down into my eyes. Almost immediately, I could pinpoint their presence as a Golgotha. Oh, your face. You look like a dead star, one from an old film I used to love. They spoke in a quiet voice, head tilting at me curiously. Well, thanks? I wouldn't say it's a compliment. The words were laced with a slight German accent, leading in a slow, poetic way. I am O'Berry. You might have seen my work under a different name. I used to be a filmmaker in Berlin, but I came here in the 30s, back when Hollywood's Coven was a tiny little production. In these 60 years, I have only seen a face as faded as yours once before. And he didn't have a happy ending. He sounds so much like Baron Isaac of Hollywood. Like this whole... yeah, he's talking about Ash. Aubrey smiled at me thinly, taking a sip from the glass in her left hand. I don't always like happy endings. I prefer ones open to interpretation. An experimental mind, then. I admire that. They gave me a knowing nod, chuckling softly. I hope you enjoy dramatic performances. You'll be seeing a convincing one very soon. He's talking about the game's endings, isn't he? I'm quite sure. At that moment, their eyes flicked towards a waving figure on the dance floor, and they let out a gentle sigh. I should get this drink to my sire before he snatches up a human. He's quite old-fashioned and hates using glasses. Good night, Star. They continued on their way after winking at me briefly, disappearing onto the crowd before long. Okay. Without any other eventful encounters, I finished my now lukewarm drink and tipped the bartender, returning to the club's main hall. And outside. I left the noisy interior of the club returning to the street. It was later than expected, which meant I should probably settle in before morning. Time seemed to pass so quickly, even though I was technically immortal now. Vince? Miss Locke wants to see you in the meeting room. Just as I was about to take the elevator to my room, the clerk called out to me. Got it. A new mission had come up, more than likely. I wondered where I'd be sent this time. With a slight sense of apprehension, I entered the meeting room. But Cherise wasn't the only one waiting inside. Hi, Marcus. I just don't believe that the investment is worth the time, and most certainly not the potential risks. Don't you agree, Marcus? Most certainly indeed. As Cherise questioned Marcus, who lazily nodded along to her words, I noticed another figure curled up in the chair beside them. Heath, my boy! Don't run! The moment our eyes met, Heath leapt to his feet. Heath, what on earth are you? Cherise followed his gaze over towards me, offering a curt nod in greeting before returning her attention to Marcus. But he rushed up to me before I could take a single step in any direction. Vince, the other night, I'm so sorry. As he pulled me aside, he guiltily averted his eyes from mine, shaking his head. I never meant for any of that to happen. You never meant to kiss me? Really? So I hope you'll forgive me for everything I said. You know that part about you loving me? Oh, so you didn't mean any of... I don't know what to say! So you didn't mean any of it? I'm not saying that, I was just... He bit his lip, either out of embarrassment or to hold back a smile. I was just so afraid, Vince. I was afraid that you'd hate me. Especially after what I confessed to you. Feeling silent for a moment, he slowly reached for his pocket, pulling out a cigarette. He pressed it between his lips and lit the end, inhaling and breathing out a long, thin stream of smoke. Smoking inside is bad! Don't do that! I mean, smoking in general is bad, but inside, ew. I meant it. All of it. Aww. But I don't want to ruin our friendship. He offered those last words to me in a little more than a whisper. So maybe we should forget I ever said any of it. But what if I didn't want to be just friends? I mean, I don't want to ruin our friendship either. But then on the other hand... Alright, let's do it. What if I didn't want to be just friends? I mean, let's just do it. Bad decisions day. Let's do it. Vince, you really... When Heath stepped back from me a little, I saw Cherise glowering at us from the other side of the room. Marcus is just like judging us silently. Marcus, who sat casually by her side, flashed us a complacent smirk. If I may interrupt, I have decided to send both of you to Marcus' shop tomorrow. To Blood and Roses. Yes, he only has one shop as far as I'm aware, or at least as far as I care to be aware. Marcus has generously offered to do a special report for me on certain individuals' activity, but he's been having some kind of difficulty with his shop. Thus, in return for his services, I'm dispatching you two to take care of his problem. He assures me you can handle it. I feel like I should be afraid. Nothing wrong with that, brother. Fear is how animals survive. Marcus offered a shrug, wiggling his eyebrows slightly. Very well then. Head over to the shop tomorrow around 10 or 11. I'll arrange the car. And could you finish up that chat of yours? If I remember correctly, Heath has a delivery to make tonight. Yes, of course. I'll get to it in just one moment. Just one moment, yes, of course. As Charisse shook her head, muttering to Marcus, he quickly turned back to me. His composure, or a convincing mask of it, had apparently returned, although the smile on his lips was slightly too carefree. I'll come get you at your room tomorrow night, if that's alright. After the job, maybe we can talk a little more openly. Openly. Sure, no problem, dude. No problem. He leaned in for just a moment, letting the last words deliberately linger on his lips. Oh, Vince, before you go, I know this may seem a little sudden, but if you had to pick a favorite movie genre, what would you choose? Oh, okay. I love horror movies, even more now that I'm basically living one. Oh, you love the excitement of fear, Or maybe you're only saying that so we can hold each other tightly through all the scares. He laughed impishly, tracing his thumb along his bottom lip. Oh my god, movie night! I'm excited! Well then, I'll see you tomorrow night. I'm excited. Sweet dreams, Vince. With one last smile, Heath stepped back towards the door, nodding once to Charisse and me. As the door closed behind him, I realized Marcus had left too. Just like before, I hadn't noticed him slipping out, and maybe he did that on purpose. I ended my night there, with a sense of uncertainty lurking in the back of my mind. When I curled up and closed my eyes, I felt like I could see Andre's glowing gaze, his low voice resonating like a double bass. The time for an end to this conflict swiftly approaches, he'd said. Those ominous words circled through my thoughts as I drifted into a light, restless sleep. And that would be all for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me. We have met the SABBAT leader, what seems to be a SABBAT-like leader, and we agreed to work with him because I'm crazy. And also, we are planning to visit a sex shop with Heath first, and then we plan to have a movie night. I don't want to combine these two facts, but I'm going to leave that for you as a food for thought. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me, and let's meet in another one. Good night, and don't get lost in it.